again with another exciting video. Well, today the topic is going to be about graveyards, graveyard magic. Well, I want to talk about this because there's so much foolishness written about graveyard magic or graveyard dirt. Well, today I want to talk more about graveyards. Well, I want to say this. Working with graveyards is a science more than it is a ritualistic practice. When I say science, I'm not talking about linear science from point A to point B. I say it's an experimental thing. Because each graveyard is not the same. And you got to take into consideration the difference between a cemetery and a graveyard. They're not the same. Now, I want to say this. When you're talking about graveyards, I hear a lot of people saying, well, they went to this graveyard here. They're going to bury their work in this graveyard. They're going to do this. They're going to do that. Well, first off, let me explain something to you. Every graveyard has its own particular energy. So what you plan on leaving there may not be compatible with that graveyard. I know someone recently who went to the graveyard that was figured, well, you know what, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to mix a bunch of stuff there, and I'm going to bury my work in the graveyard. What happened to that individual was weeks down the line, we started seeing a strain of bad luck from everything going wrong in that person's life. So, I say this to say that this is not a practice for the novice. You know, this is something you have to have a lot of experience in, but I wouldn't even say just physical experience. You have to be very in tune spiritually to work with graveyards. You know, it's not about walking in some place and then leaving some pennies and this and that, removing dirt, and then, you know, leaving something in exchange. No, that's not it. You know, and I'm not saying that there's something wrong with that practice, which I just mentioned, but there's more to working with graveyards. There's many people that figure, well, I'm going to leave this offering to so-and-so. I'm going to leave this offering to so-and-so. Great idea. Great. But at the end of the day, you have to keep in mind which graveyard belongs to who. Because when you go to certain places in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, there's certain parts of a graveyard which is basically demarcated for Bawon Samedi. Then you got another place which is basically demarcated for Bawon La Croix. Then you got other places. So each part of the graveyard belongs to its particular spirit. So when we're talking about graveyards that are not, each graveyard has its own particular energy. And when we're talking about energy, we can say that there's a particular deity which governs over that graveyard. There's a spirit that's in guard of that graveyard. You know, in some, like again, in my culture, you know, we have made certain parts of certain cemeteries, the Bawon Samedi, you may go somewhere else, it's Bawon Criminel, such and such, you know what I'm saying? But you never find them closely aligned with one another. You find them separated because they know certain areas is basically designed for specific spirits. So this is what I'm saying. Now translating that Haitian tradition into American or the American graveyard tradition, you know, working with graveyards, we have to look at it the same way. Is that it may not be, it may not be consecrated to a loi from Haitian voodoo. It has its own particular energy. Now we have a tradition. We say the first person buried in that grave, you know, is, if I'm correct, Bawon, something like that. And then the second person buried after that is the Gede. So translating that language, you know, the first person that was buried in that graveyard may likely be the owner of that graveyard. But this is something that, you know, I'm going off of memory. I don't really have, you know, it's like it's been so long since I went through that motion whatsoever, you know. But I would basically say that there is a spiritual owner of that graveyard. So by a person bringing something foreign to that graveyard, they may be crossing their own work. So this is a thing that I say is very complex, you know? And I gotta say this to people that feel like, you know, they want to leave certain things in the graveyard. When you go to certain graveyards, you gotta understand, it's not about what you think the spirit's like. It's about what the spirit's like. When you go to a graveyard and you leave some things there, and now you get like a terrible vibe when you leave there, that is letting you know that what the fuck you left there is not supposed to be there. You know? There's a lot of people that's like, you know, it's like there's a lot of videos, people talk about graveyard, this and that. Then you got people talking about making videos about graveyard dirt and this and that, you know, like, you know, graveyard dirt, mixing it with this and that. You got to understand that each graveyard is different. So with that being different, what that dirt can be used for changes. Some people will take the dirt from the grave of someone and think that they're going to use it just from malicious magic. But it turns around that that spirit is not harmonious with what they're doing. Some people, let me just put it like this, because I started to go into detail too much, but this is not, you know, most people know that I'm not going to go into details about certain things. But I will just say, as I just said, is that you may find that one dirt works well with a particular system that you have, and then the same dirt which you try, another dirt which you try to do the same ritual with, it doesn't work. You know what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is that each cemetery or graveyard's energy is different. They're not the same. And when it comes about addressing graveyards and cemeteries, you have to be a very spiritually developed person. You'll just be like, okay, well, everything is all good, whatever, you know what I'm saying? Then you go home, then all of a sudden tragedy and all this type of issues start happening. You know, come on, man. So, with that said, I hope this video is very informative. Thank you guys for watching. Like and subscribe.